Charity of the Week.
I'm Jonathan Worley and I'm the Chief Executive of St Christopher's.
Jonathan, we've been finding out all about St Christopher's this week and what a fabulous charity it is. And obviously there's a UK link. It started over in the UK. I'm intrigued to know, the service must be quite different here on the Isle of Man. What are the sort of differences between the work you do in the UK and over here?
Well, it's interesting because the needs of the young people are largely the same. The difference, I would say, is the island culture. And there's very much an intimacy here that doesn't translate to other places where we work, not so easily. So, for example, there's some great things we do here that we try and say, well, that's so good on the Isle of Man. How do we copy that and how do we replicate it and take it to the UK? So an example would be our wraparound service, which provides mental health support. So offering ways of working in therapeutically informed ways. So providing support to the young people directly, but to the workforce as well. And we've tried to say, well, that's great, how does that work? Can we copy it and do it in London and do it in the Midlands and do it in other areas? And it does translate really well in theory, but the practice here is so much more, I guess, it's confined, and therefore people know each other in a more intimate way, and therefore I think the relationships here feel much more, I want to say genuine. I don't mean to be rude to the people in the UK, but there's a genuine approach here of care that translates, not as easily in other places. But largely it's the same work. We're providing homes, small homes for young people. So children would come to us into our care homes and there'll be 3 or 4 young people placed together. And we provide a family environment. When I started my career, we were working in homes where we had homes with 20 beds in, and it was institutionalised, and I walked around with a big bunch of keys on my hip, and I was policing, I wasn't caring. That's not the way we do it now. Thankfully, it's much more intimate, there's much more relationship-based ways of working, and that really bears very good fruit. And then when young people leave from the children's home and go into supported accommodation in preparation for independence, those relationships follow them as well. So there's no kind of cut-off, and those relationships go right on into early adulthood, and that support's there for them. So I think that island way of working is, I would love to be able to replicate this and do it the same way everywhere we work, but sometimes it's just the challenges of geographical locations make that impossible.
So people might be quite surprised that there is such a need for this service. I mean, are there a lot of young people that come through the service on the Isle of Man?
Well, this is not uncommon. This is the same everywhere. We know that the numbers, I'm talking across not just the Isle of Man, but across the UK and and wider, numbers of children in care are escalating. It's going up. We know that more than 75% of those tend to be in foster care, and where foster care isn't appropriate, then children's homes are where they go. And so our responsibility is to make sure even those numbers are rising, and it's not rising rapidly here on the Isle of Man, but it's making sure that the care is sufficient to meet those needs. And those needs are very complex as well. So it's not as simple as just saying, well, we take a young person, that's it. It's about how do you understand that young person as an individual, how do you support them so their needs are met fully, not just partially, but fully, to give them the opportunity to have a full and thriving childhood and life. And those happy memories of childhood as well. I was thinking about my own memories of childhood and how it's been hot recently, and thinking now I remember the summer of 1976 and how hot that was. But I've got such fond memories of my own childhood. And I want all our young people to look back and say, I had a great childhood, great experiences.
So how do you provide that for someone then? Because, of course, if they've been, for whatever reason, they may not have a family unit around them. That's a really difficult thing to provide, childhood memories without a family unit. How do you do that with St Christopher's?
I guess the starting point is that we don't demonise children. I think there is this myth sometimes that children in care, those are the naughty children, those are the difficult ones, those are the bad children. And I've heard it said, and the statistics back that up sometimes. The young people in care are written off. The statistics say that young people are more likely to become involved with substance misuse or to be homeless or to end up in custody and those kind of things. But actually we need to see beyond that and see them for their true worth. And each child has that, as I said, an inner diamond. And it's how do we help them to identify that and to see beyond the challenges they've experienced and see them as an individual. And that's done through relationships. So when people come to work for us, the turnover of staff isn't great because people come to us and work with us for a long time and develop a career with us as a progression of working through the organisation to senior positions. But at the heart of that is developing relationships with young people and being there for them. And that's the key to it, really. There's no magic wand, but it's if you can see the true worth of a child and help them to see it and work with them in a way that is not going to give up. So how do you be tenacious? Because sometimes young people can be very prickly. They can come to us. They might have been let down by the care system. They might have been let down by people who they looked up to or they loved, and they've let them down. And they'll come to us and they might say, well, when are you going to let me down? When are you going to fail for me? And so they'll push your buttons and they'll make it hard. They'll make themselves prickly and unlovable. But you need to see beyond that. You need to be tenacious and you need to say, no, we're not going to give up. We're going to keep working. We're going to keep going through this and we're going to be there for you.
And we were talking there about sort of, I suppose, the preconceptions really of what a young person is like if they are someone that needs these sort of services. That must present certain slightly different challenges on the Isle of Man because, as you mentioned, it is quite a close community. We do all sort of know each other. And so I'm guessing that it's quite hard to sort of wipe away some of those stereotypes here on the Isle of Man where we sort of automatically assume something of a young person. Does that present slightly different challenges over here?
It can do because I was here a little while ago and I was staying at the Sefton, and right next door was a theatre. I thought I had a free evening, so I went across and went into the Sefton, and I was there. And it was a packed house. It was great. And next to me, I'd bought the tickets at the last minute. The seat next to me was a colleague that works for us. 2 rows down, there was somebody else that works for. I think it's those kind of relationships. It's very difficult to live in an island community where you don't cross paths on a regular basis. So that stigma for our young people in the care system, if they've grown up with peers who all remain on the island and they've got a reputation that can hang around, it's how do you overcome that to see beyond that so that reputation doesn't follow them through into adulthood and the rest of their lives? So how do you break that mould? How do you say, no, we're not going to adhere to that mentality. We're not going to see young people in care as the problem. We're going to see young people in care as individuals who've had difficult experiences, and how do we give them the opportunity to really go beyond and break through that mould?
And obviously then, as you said, part of that is getting them into employment. So how willing and able are employees on the Isle of Man to actually take in these young people?
You know, we've been really impressed with the passion, the attitude, the mentality, the willingness, the understanding of so many people. As I said, we're working with something like 50 employers now who have given those young people a break where other people have maybe turned their back on them. So I'd encourage people, if you are a small business, if you are an employer on the island, then contact us because you'll be surprised about the value that young people can bring. We've got a number of apprentices that have worked with us and have gone on to have full-time employment with us. And they bring such joy and such challenge and such a refreshing attitude that is a joy to have around. So I'd encourage anybody that's employed to contact us and look for those opportunities to work with our young people.
And, you know, you do make it sound so positive and it does sound like a wonderful organisation. It really does. And actually, you're looking for people to potentially come and work with you. So who are you sort of looking for? What kind of person are you looking for?
Yeah, there's no limit on it. We'd love to see more mature people, more life experienced people that maybe want to try something different. But, you know, whatever age you've got, as long as you've got a passion to make a difference, you don't need to have all the skills because we've got excellent training that's provided. We've got training that will develop you, will challenge you, will change you, will open your eyes to new ways of thinking, and will give you the skills to actually engage with young people that you'll see a difference happening. And when you see that you're doing something with your own life that's changing the lives of others, then that becomes infectious and you want to do more of it. So I've been in this work now for over 30 years. And I still, I've got that passion because I want to keep making a difference.
I'm guessing it must be incredibly rewarding when, as you say, you do see these young people who've started out with what looks like no hope at all, and now you've sort of seen them come up through what you provide and have jobs and go on to maybe have families of their own and actually succeed in life. So the rewards must be enormous.
Absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head. It does come with its challenges as well. So yes, those are the success stories. You do have times where you'll find that you'll get home at night and you'll think that was a tough day. But those tough days, they're balanced out because actually at the end of it, you're doing some incredibly positive work. This is a place where you'll come to work for St Christopher's and you'll see lives growing and developing. You'll see young people maturing into adults that will in a way become an extended part of your own lives. some of the most amazing foster carers I've ever worked with, for example, are people who you go to their house at Sunday for lunch, and there's so many chairs around the table because the young people come back to them. And that's the same with us. The young people stay in contact, they stay close, and you'll find that you'll know them and their families and their own children as the years go by.
And you're also looking for trustees for the Isle of Man based charity over here. So what sort of time commitment would somebody have to put into becoming a trustee of St Christopher's? Well,
the minimum is that we have a number of meetings, our board meetings, and I think there's 3 or 4 of those that last a few hours a year. So the time commitment to that isn't too much, but actually we want them to be involved in much more than that. So we like them to be engaged with our services, we like them to know our teams, to know our people, to be visiting, to be visible. Because trustees, that's not just a role that is there, that is static, that is boring, that's covered in dust somewhere and isn't exciting. Actually, they can have just the same impact on transforming lives. So we want trustees who are engaged, are passionate, and are interested in what we're doing. So if you think you fit that bill, then yes, please do contact us.
Excellent. So it just remains to be said, then how do people contact you? Where to find out more again? Just remind us.
The easiest way, if you just put a Google search in for St Christopher's Isle of Man, our details will come up. Our website is stchris.org.uk, and you'll find pages of information there about our work on the Isle of Man.